Hi, hello, welcome back. My name is Devraj, and today I wanted to answer a question that I get asked a lot, which is really around the value or the meaning of drugs or altered states, psychoactive substances in the self-developmental journey, the journey of therapy to becoming a more whole and bounteous human being. And so what I'm going to be talking about is substances like ayahuasca, which is a mixture of plants from South America, or ibogaine, which is the bark, comes originally from the bark of the root of Tabernanthe iboga, a shrub found in West Africa, or magic mushrooms, which grow wild across a lot of Europe and America. This kind of thing, peyote also is in that category, or LSD, which is a chemically derived substance. And these drugs are all they come from the class tryptamines, which are drugs which will change your consciousness basically for a period of time. They'll take you out of this normal, here's me, this fixed little person, and here's the world out there, and they'll mash it up a bit. They may mix feelings in with everything, or they may intensify your emotions a lot. They may take you into altered states. You may see visual hallucinations to a degree even. What I want to say first of all is that in my experience of being around this scene and being around the therapy scene as well, I don't consider these substances as being tools for complete transformation. I see them more as something that you can use at certain times if you're inclined to, or with certain specific purposes. I haven't personally really met anyone that I consider to have deeply transformed themselves purely through using these substances, and that is just my own personal opinion. It's not necessarily ultimately correct, but that is my own personal opinion. Something I did notice, being in this scene for quite a while was, and there were conferences a lot I'd go to back in the 90s, some I'd even organise myself, and a lot of guys, particularly men in their 30s, not exclusively, but particularly men in their 30s really get into these substances, and often they're very keen to talk about their experiences. And this was all good, but I did not notice myself people having a huge level of development from purely using these substances. But they definitely do have use. Now, they can become like a gateway to doing, even alcohol for me, even certainly ecstasy for me, and ibogaine were a gateway to me finally getting involved with therapy. I mean, alcohol more because it was destroying my life, ecstasy and ibogaine because they were providing insights to different parts of my character that I didn't think really existed, loving parts of me. And so they kind of nudged me towards getting involved in therapy and looking for something that could get me high without having to take substances. But the basic ways that I see these substances having value are these. And the first one is, essentially is a cure for rigidity of mind. Because the average upbringing, particularly a Western upbringing, certainly I had a Western upbringing anyway, we tend to develop a very tight kind of ego inside, this sense of an inner experiencer, and then a very tight vision of the world outside. It's all kind of a bit rigid. And if there's one thing that will break up that rigidity is these kind of tryptamine-like substances. They will mash your brain up for a period of time, and they will take you out of that rigidity. And we all probably, if we've been using substances in the past, know people, maybe at work or whatever, who could probably, we see, benefit from having a bit of LSD once in a while or something like that, or some mushrooms or something that just takes them out of that rigid state, so that they potentially realize there's more in life. So breaking up rigidity is a definite, potential value of these substances. And coming alongside that, of course, as we break up, because that rigidity of mind is also a mechanism to suppress emotionality. It's to keep feelings down. If we keep our mind real rigid and our prefrontal cortex is holding everything, and we're also exerting that control over our upper body in particular and around our hips and waist, our sexuality, then breaking that rigidity for a while allows feelings to flow. It allows situations which are repressed in our consciousness to start to come back up. It allows also, because rigidity also creates a lot of fear. You know, if you're always doing things from a rigid perspective, a part of your mind is like, well, what if I did that? What if I did that? And you don't really consider it, or maybe not even aware of it, but you're creating fear for yourself with rigidity. And so the drug may take you out of that space, allow fear to come up and be processed. You breathe and you feel your body, allow other emotions to start to come up. You know, this can be very, very valuable. Another area where drugs can be really, really useful is when you feel stuck, when you are involved in a developmental journey. You know, you're on the path, but it's got a bit stuck. Maybe with a therapeutic practice, or, you know, spiritual practice, meditation that you've been following for a while, or the therapist that you've been working with, you know, they're not really getting, you know, it feels like it was going well for a bit, and now it's kind of all got a bit stuck, and you're kind of not really trusting it anymore, the process, and you don't really know, you know, is it me avoiding, or is it just like it's not working for me? You know, taking a substance could be useful in that situation, you know, because by taking yourself out of your normal awareness, you may come into contact with some kind of deeper realm of the psyche, where you can get some insights or some advice or something like that. And it may be useful if you're stuck. It may be useful. Something also to mention about these substances before I conclude this little chat, you know, is that it is not necessarily beneficial to take drugs. You know, if you have a lot of repressed material, or your personality is just a certain way, you know, they may spin you out. You know, and you may see other people completely getting lots of benefit from taking LSD or taking ayahuasca, but you may not. You know, it may spin you out. You know, you could have a psychotic episode. You know, so I don't want to convey the impression, this is just not just for legal reasons or anything like that. You know, I'm concerned about legality, but I also like to just be honest. You know, not for everyone are drugs. You know, I had a very powerful negative experience on LSD when I was in my early 20s, and it shut me down for a long time. It shut me down for a long time. And it wasn't until I started really doing therapy and accessing my anger properly and letting it out that I realized I had so much repressed. And, you know, I just had a very negative drug experience, and I just didn't know what to make of it. I was just happy it was gone and I was out of it. And I just resolved, you know, just to never do anything like that again. And that was because I didn't understand the psyche, you know, and I didn't understand my own psyche at all. And that didn't come for many years, till many years later when I got involved in therapy. So, you know, do be aware that substances they can also spin you out or make a mess of you, as well as providing healing insights. Something else to be aware of that I was certainly aware of when I was hanging around the scene a lot, and that, you know, provided an aha kind of moment for me when I started to study Reiki and characterology a few years ago. And that was, if you have the leaving pattern, you know, if you have this, what was known as the schizoid or dreamer character type, then, you know, you got to watch if you're taking substances for the tryptamine class, because yes, they're taking you out of your consciousness, out of your day-to-day reality, but maybe that action is just an avoidance. You know, okay, maybe you're hanging out in some realm with all sorts of masters or angels or divine spirits, and they're giving you insights and learnings, but maybe, you know, underneath that, on a behavioral level, it's simply avoidance. You're actually avoiding being human, having all the normal dramas and emotional upsets that come from just being human and seeking, you know, partners, friendships, a job, and this kind of thing. So that is always worth mentioning, particularly if you're regularly using, you know, shamanic substances, which are not regarded as recreational drugs, and are not recreational drugs as far as I'm concerned, but nevertheless, they take you out of your normal space, and you've got to be clear. Am I coming out of my normal space to gain awareness, to understand myself, to become more full, or am I subtly avoiding something? You know, am I subtly avoiding something? Okay, cool. Thank you guys for tuning in and listening to this chat. You know, do check out bioenergetics.org.uk, my website, if you want to know more about bioenergetics and other body-based therapies. I've got a book, I've got a 52-week journey course, and if you want a real challenge, then sign up for that. I give personal support along the way, and there's a whole group of people doing it, all coming in at different times, but that's a real 1 year to 2 year journey that's intense and deep. Okay guys, thank you, and I will speak to you again soon. Bye for now.